reflections on the book, The Way of the Shepherd. And, and that book, like I've told you in the past, was just introduced to me in the last, couple of months. And I like to think that I had been operating as a shepherd before I even read that book. And I think many of you guys have been doing that as well. But I just want to kind of talk to you guys about maybe potentially some of your reflections on it. And maybe you would be honored to share some of your reflections or some of the things that you learned from the book with your peers. Anybody want to volunteer to kind of talk about any one of the principles? And a lot of you guys did such a really good job of tying in what you thought your leadership philosophy was at the beginning of the semester, right? And then taking what you thought and then going, wow, my aperture just kind of really opened up a little bit more with regards to, what is important to me now as a future leader. And kind of, and going through this, these past 2 semesters and kind of learning about each other and about all the other sheep in the flock, you know what I mean? And all that. But does anybody want to talk about any of their shared experiences or reflections on that piece with each other as a group? See, we should have locked that door. Oh, you're good.
Don Kennison?
Yeah, hey Don. Hey Don. Yeah. No, you're good, brother.
I see you.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'll tell you what, once you come in, can you give Mr. Kennedy a seat? He's our guest speaker for today. We're going to do a current events and everything before we go, Mr. Kennedy,
Sure.
but yeah, please have a seat, sir. And, but does anyone want to share any reflections at all? I know we got our guest speaker in the room, and that's okay. He has no idea what we're talking about, but anybody?
For me, sir, the whole book, I appreciated everything, but really what the chapter I liked the most was the last part, the heart of the shepherd, that understanding it's not a way to look at your work environment, it's the way to look at life and how to look at yourself, and how you carry yourself is how it reflects into that work life. So it's not one and the other, it's one and the same.
Okay.
That's what
Okay. It's hard, isn't it? It's really a lifestyle, like we've kind of discussed. I mean, and you've seen some of the guest speakers that I brought up, and what have I talked about with them a lot? Passion, right? And to see them have that passion, it gives me goosebumps, you know what I mean? And there are those leaders out there that have that dynamic passion, that really want to, make you successful and all that kind of stuff. So great. The heart of the shepherd is, of all the principles to me, if you don't have the heart in what we're doing, it kind of goes back to really what we're doing as commissioned officers, right? If your heart's not in it, if you think it's just 9 to 5, you're going to be able to, people are going to see right through that very quickly. So having that heart and that passion is going to be important. Anybody else? Come on, yeah, shoot, let's talk. Like, we're a freaking family. You guys are like, oh, I want to talk about anybody. Come on, what's up?
I guess, the principle of know your sheep. Because,
Okay.
I think a lot of us kind of overlook that. I think
Okay.
it's the most important ones for platoon leaders, because you're going to have, 40 soldiers in your platoon
Yeah,
who individually they have something
Man.
about them that,
yeah,
probably gets overlooked.
yeah,
So, you could have a private who you think is just there,
yeah.
doesn't really know much, but you never know, he could be a master carpenter. He's going to
Yeah.
help you build your...
Guys, I'm telling you, and that's hard. To be a shepherd like that, look, if you walk out of this program with that in your soul, okay, like we talked about before, you're going to be just fine. Because what do you think is going to happen to you when you show up to your first unit? Where is your time going to go? With all the shit that you're going to be doing as a junior, remember foreman? All right, see foreman, okay? You think foreman is shepherding his soldiers every day? Talking to his sheep every day? I hope so, right? But how hard is that? So we're talking about the passion and if your heart's not in it. Because look at the overwhelming tasks that you're going to be asked to do. 24/7, right? And do you think so what do you have to do is you got to find the time. And where, right? Where and when are you going to go out and get to know the condition of your flock? Every single one at a time. You know what I mean? And try to talk to them and try to get to have a personal relationship with them and know them and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't mean going and having beers with them, right? But that is so important, all right? And it's really not just about discovering whether or not they're a master carpenter, right? Because they could build X, Y, or Z. But finding out that is a bonus about them, right? That you will now be able to connect with them in other ways that you might not be able to connect with another soldier. You know what I mean? your platoon sergeant, and the experiences that they have, the intercultural experience that they have, right? I don't know if you guys know what Cadet Manny's working on his thesis, but a lot of great work with regards to intercultural relationships and how those impact, relationships in the Army. But great, what else? Captain Morton.
Sure, to add on to that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lieutenant Foreman, does anyone remember the book that he recommended reading? The Heart and the Fist. I ended up reading it. It's about a Navy SEAL. I know. I'm a Ranger. I read a Navy SEAL book. God help me. But anyway, one of the quotes that just kind of falls in line with that tenet is he said, "The Lance Corporal, or basically a junior enlisted rank, at the back of your platoon may not know every detail of your operation. He may not have read every piece of intelligence about your enemy or every nuance of your largest strategy, but he will always know one thing. He will know whether or not you care about him."
Yeah. What else? Any other reflections? You guys had some really good papers. Come on, share it with your peers. You guys are freaking smart. You guys are starting to get it. The light is going on. Okay? Share.
It's not like letting one of your friends borrow your iPod and they find Mariah Carey on it, all right? Okay.
Yeah. No, you're done.
I think if I saw my paper, sir, I could remember.
I'll give you guys a real quick. It's on the condition of your flock. Discover the shape of your sheep. Help your sheep identify with you. Make your pasture a safe place. The staff of direction, the rod of correction, and the heart of the shepherd.
But I forgot what I wrote because I went into pretty big detail.
You were deep. You were very deep. You had a really good reflection. But you don't remember it.
I think one of the challenges that
Let's get a perspective from a person who's been in the Army for a day and knows some leaders.
one of the things that all those concepts I tried to apply, and I was able to actually add to what I already knew as a leader reading the book. But one of the things that I really had to think about was the rod and the staff piece of the book. In today's Army, where there's almost a zero tolerance for any misconduct, it's going to be hard to know when to use the rod and the staff, and that's something I thought that when soldiers, when they seem to make a mistake, you might have a really great soldier who does a lot of great things, but it makes one mistake, and you got to decide whether or not you're going to use the rod or the staff on them, and that's going to be a difficult challenge.
I will tell you, that was the biggest feedback from all of you, that you are scared and worried about using the rod, and about how that works, and about punishing soldiers, and about all that kind of stuff. That was across the board, right? Across the board, that's the biggest concern, is how am I going to do that? How am I going to bring in a leader, bring in somebody and give them counseling, right? So what do you think? How do we do that? After reading that book, okay, because Cadet Flower's got a point, right? There's a time where we're gonna use one or the other. So what do you guys think? And I think a lot of, unfortunately, in this environment, Captain Warren and I were talking a lot about this today, about the different environments of commissioning sources and the challenges of being an ROTC cadet in an environment where you're not locked in every day, 24/7, right? At OCS, at West Point, those kind of things, you are locked in 24 hours a day, you know what I mean? So, but here, you have a whole life out there when you walk out of this door that you can go off and, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of, challenges with that. But I think that you guys, and again, I don't want to say it's unfortunate, but a lot of you guys walk around maybe on eggshells when you shouldn't, because we're all about mentoring you and growing you. But there is an expectation as a senior cadet about to commission and become a United States Army officer that you are operating at a level where you need to be after the amount of time you spend at ROTC. Does that make sense? And when you're not meeting that expectation, then we need to pull you in and ensure that I like to call it mentoring, okay? You guys might look at it a different way, but maybe focusing you a little bit better on some of the things you need to be focused on to ensure that you're ready to go out there and be successful officers, right? A lot of you guys talked about this. What's this, Kevin? Maybe yeah, right? How important is that? You know what I mean? And a lot of you guys made some good comments too. I don't know who it was. And maybe it was an article. I just hung an article on the Facebook page and I pointed Cadet Quenga, because Cadet Quenga right now is at an award ceremony for the George C. Marshall Award. And General Perkins today or yesterday went up there and talked about platoon leaders. And is your platoon leader, is your soldiers going to claim you? Is it, yeah, you know, how they talk about you when you're not around, you know what I mean? That is my lieutenant, you better get that, you know what I mean? Or are they going to, what is it, you remember? They're gonna claim you, did anyone read it?
Curse.
Or curse, yes, thank you, or curse you. Right, like, oh my God, here we go again, right? And we've all seen it, we've all done it, I've done it. Oh my God, here we go again, right? Versus, and I have had the absolute best battalion commander in the Army, and I swear to God, if he stays in, will be, write this name down, Poppas, P-O-P-P-A-S, AKA Leonidas. He will be the, you know, it was my battalion, one of my battalion commanders, the greatest American ever, but, so, right, are you gonna, how do you communicate against your leaders? What else? Were you
Yeah,
doing,
sure.
okay, cool.
I think just kind of in response to Flower's point about knowing when to use the rod and when to use the staff has a lot to do with actually knowing your flock and then letting them get to know you.
Wow, yeah,
Because if you know them well enough, then you'll know, hey, this is a one-time mistake.
yeah,
This is more of the staff
yeah.
area
Wow.
or
Do you think that we know you guys?
In a way, yeah.
I mean, do you think when we know when to use the rod or when to use the staff with you guys?
Sometimes seem like
Huh? You should know. No, I'm asking a serious question. I'd like that feedback. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to think that we know. You know, I mean, we don't know every single, you know, because again, you guys aren't here 24 hours a day. I guarantee you, if you guys were here locked down like I was at OCS, I mean, my instructor's at OCS, and I'm sure his knew every single darn thing about us, because I couldn't walk out of my barracks room without, or I couldn't walk out of your barracks room. I couldn't walk out of the building without running into a cadre member and going, what are you doing, you know? So, anyway, great point. I agree with that. You really have to know the condition of your flock in order to make an assessment on whether or not you're gonna use what tool. What else?
Sir, I think one thing I wrote was about like wanting to keep your flock in a good pasture, sir. Like
Okay.
I wouldn't want to be the leader where I kept like in the story, like keep my flock in like a decrepit land where they're like rotting
Okay.
and everything like that. So I want to see like create a positive environment, and yeah. So to do that, you have to know your soldiers and make sure
Yeah.
to know.
You know what a bigger challenge is than making sure that your soldiers are in the right pasture?
Mhm.
A lot of times you're gonna get directives down from higher headquarters, and you're not gonna like them.
That's what I was gonna add to that. I was gonna say, the challenge there is gonna be, what if you had maybe a leader above you that's maybe not meeting the standard, or you feel like it's not meeting the standard, and it's creating a bad environment for your flock? How do you develop that
How do you? It's a great question.
without undermining the leadership?
Yeah. That's gonna be a huge leadership challenge for you. Is that there's gonna be some things that you might not agree with that come down. And you have to put your name on it. You have to. You can't shun responsibility and go, well, this is what the battalion, this is what company commander said we gotta do today, so this is what we're gonna do. No, man, don't be, you know what I mean? You can't do that, right? You guys know that, right? Well, I wonder sometimes, some of you think I'm a COL. What? I don't have any dry erase. Can you grab the dry erase marker off my desk, please? It's pink. There we go. What rank is this? Am I that rank? Some of y'all think I am. Right? I'm a lieutenant. All right, I just want to make sure everybody's tracking, because a lot of you think I'm this. I am not that. That is a full bird, okay, with an eagle, all right? That's an eagle. That's a full bird colonel. I am a lieutenant, smaller one, very smaller one, okay? You guys tracking? So just make sure it goes back to that, right, how we write date and time groups and everything. You know, make sure don't ever address your brigade commander in your letter, or your future battalion commander, hey, Colonel, CO, you know what I mean? Okay, just want to make sure. All right, what else? Yes, ma'am.
The acronym shape, sir.
The acronym, yeah, that's pretty powerful, right? Wow, so can you, a little bit?
S was strengths, H is heart.
Yeah.
A was attitude, I forgot what P was, and then E was experiences.
Yeah. How important is attitude, man? How important is attitude in an organization? You guys have seen it amongst your peers, right? How important is it to come in every day passionate, with heart, right? Ready to get after it. No matter, you know what I mean? Versus someone that comes in and goes, oh, we're here, you know what I mean? And you're going to have soldiers who are going to be like that. They're gonna be in that other pasture. Okay?
That's a great point, sir. There's another book called Good to Great, which I really like. It's a study of what makes businesses go from being good companies to incredible companies that last for a really long time. They do this big case study on it. And one of the things is, one of the tenets of that is that if you have an experience, if you're interviewing people to hire in your organization, if you have a very experienced person with a bad attitude, or you have someone who's completely inexperienced with a great attitude, take the person with the great attitude
God,
and
10
train
times over.
them to do the job. It's so much better. It'll be so much better for your organization.
Right? I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Isn't it a challenge when you have people with bad attitudes? It's hard, right? It's really hard to get stuff done. Because it's like, oh my God, here he comes, or here she comes, and you know, what it's gonna be today, right? You're gonna have soldiers like that, okay? Getting to know your flock. Well, so what is it about that individual that's causing that to happen? Let's go talk. You know what I mean? What's going on? How, you know, there's problems at home, problems with relationships, problems at school, problems with kids, right? And we've got lives, right? And that's kind of everyone's life, right? And sometimes you do a better job. And you know, a lot of the good leaders, I like to think when they walk through, they leave the house. Okay, this is something to remember with your families. Okay, some of you are going to get married and have kids. We talked about quality versus quantity time, right? You're going to have kids and all that kind of stuff. When you leave the house, mindset is I'm in the military, I'm going to work, I'm going to get after it, right? And every single part of that day, passionate. When you come home, I take that off. I mean, I'm still passionate as a father and a husband, right? But I take that off and I try to focus on family now. You know what I mean? But you guys will struggle with that if you wear your hat from your house and some of those challenges that you have into the work environment. Okay? And that doesn't mean struggle with them, it means communicate. Go talk to somebody. Get some help. Communicate, right? One of these days you guys it'll all click that it's not about you, it's about your brother, your sister, right? And if you walk around with that in your soul, you will understand what I'm talking about. All right? Anything else about the way of the shepherd? I have a question for you. You guys understand kind of the curriculum of this year and your junior year. Some of you have been here. Who's been here since a freshman? Okay. Where do you think I should introduce that book to really have the impact or the value that I want it to achieve? Is this the right time in the development going out the door to have the light come on to go out and be successful? Or do you think I need to start it at a more junior level to get to the understanding?
I'd say MS 2 years, sir.
But will you appreciate it as an MS2? You appreciate it now. Huh?
I said three. I said
Or second
Yeah,
semester.
I'm with you.
But see, how powerful, let me ask you this, how powerful was it for you to put on paper what you think your philosophy is? You never thought about writing a leadership philosophy?
I think that
You
right.
only have experience, yeah.
See, sir, we were never really asked as an MS1 or in MS2 year, like what our leadership philosophy might be. So I think if you start crystallizing on that idea and getting people to at least consider it, they're able to develop that philosophy by the time they get here. Instead of just doing it one semester to the next.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of interesting because as a freshman, sophomore, and even now with CLC being not a, you know, you guys, your CLC was different from now on, right? You guys didn't have evaluations, or you did, right? Everyone else now will have no evaluations, so it's really, the focus is off the CLC and being, you know, going to LDAC, right? And getting a good grade at LDAC so you can graduate or whatever. So some of you think I should incorporate it at the junior year? Okay, I'll tell you what, will you guys do me a favor and think about that? Do some self-reflection and think about that. One of the things I might ask you to do at the end of the semester is give some feedback. You know what I mean? To me, you know, as the person who's responsible for your future development as a future commissioned officer, on some of the things we can do better to create that gem of an officer that we're looking for. Does that make sense? Will you guys think about that? And I think that book, I'm going to recommend to Cadet Command, to my brigade commander and Cadet Command, that book be part of the curriculum for every cadet. Every junior cadet, prior to becoming a commissioned officer, should read The Way of the Shepherd in order to get a feel for, right, what we all kind of have a feel for. What do you guys think? Do you think people would appreciate the message? Okay, I'm done talking. You sons of bitches don't ever freaking communicate unless we're on Facebook. Crazy, I swear, it's a societal thing, man, I don't even know.
Hey, for those of you, I really highly recommend, I know it costs $15, or if you go on Amazon or, your Kindle or whatever, books that really influence you, if this one did or didn't, but any book that really influences you, keep it, highlight it in some way, tab it. If you look at all the books, some of you have borrowed books from me, and there's been tabs in them and stuff like that, and highlights, do that. And sometimes what I'll do is like I did with that, I take quotes that mean something to me, and I go through and I collect them, and every once in a while, I go back and I review those books, or just thumb through them real quick and look at some of the highlights, or I review some of those quotes to get my mind thinking about that stuff again. Okay? So go back and it's kind of like re-bluing you on leadership. Okay?
Any other questions before we start class? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Don Kennedy is here today. We're going to do a